We are joined right now by a man who really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give you one anyway.
Okay.
His name is Kevin Harvick. He drives the number 4 Budweiser Jimmy John Chevrolet SS for Stewart-Haas Racing and is on right now on a historic run in the number 4 car. He's finished second or better in the past 6 races. He has put up numbers, staggering numbers, when you look at laps led, quality passes. I mean, the man is on a roll. Kevin, can you talk about just the run of success that you're having? What's been the secret to that success over the last 6 races?
Well, I think, that just comes down to the guys on my race team and everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing for just bringing really good cars to the racetrack, and obviously, in particular, the number 4 team, and being able to capitalize and manage the weekends and races and keep the cars together and do all the things that it takes to just make laps and keep yourself in contention. So just really proud of everybody on my team for everything that they've done, and hopefully we can keep it rolling. So we'll try to ride the wave as long as we can.
Yeah, and then you're not just the fact that you're on a roll in the last 6 races, but here at this racetrack, 6 wins, winning 3 of the last 4 races. What's it in particular about Phoenix International Raceway that really suits your driving style?
Yeah, I was so mad at Brian when he told me they were going to repave the racetrack, and in hindsight, I guess you could look back on it and say it's probably been better for us than the old style. Phoenix International Raceway. So it's just a place that I really enjoy. I think 3 and 4 still has a lot of the same characteristics that the old track did, and we were fortunate to be able to come and test here several years ago now when they repaved the track and for whatever reason just fit everything that we were doing. So last year was obviously as good a year as you can have here, and look forward to coming to this racetrack every year. Just like I said last week in Las Vegas, I mean, these are places for me that I've raced at since the mid-'90s, and to come and race in front of these race fans and be able to hear stories about people that watched you race in the Southwest Tour, or the Winston West, or the Truck Series through the years is a lot of fun for me. Just to see old faces and friends, and also get to race on a racetrack that used to be probably between the Copper World Classic and the 300-mile race that we used to have here at the end of the year for the Southwest Tour cars. This was our biggest race. So to grow up racing and come here was our Daytona 500 every year, and to be able to come back and do that now as part of your job is something that for me is a lot of fun.
Outstanding. We're going to open the floor up now to questions. If you have a question for Kevin, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. State your name and affiliation, and we'll start with Jim Utter, and we'll go up here to Lee.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. Earlier this week, Darrell Waltrip and a couple other people made comments that they thought that your combination with Rodney Childress kind of is on the verge of becoming, or could be easily compared to, what Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canals have kind of forged together. Whether you think it's too early or not to make that kind of comparison, you've been involved with a lot of crew chiefs over your career and hired crew chiefs for your team. Where do you rank? How do you feel about the relationship that you and Rodney have? Where does it compare to the others that you've had?
Yeah, I don't know where it compares to anything else, but I can tell you that Rodney and I get along like we're long-lost brothers. It's sometimes you get in situations where you're talking about the car and you'll type things at the exact same times, and we have a very similar background of how we grew up, and so his demeanor's a little bit different than mine. Obviously, we're on different ends of the spectrum. As far as he's about as laid back as you could possibly be and still be awake, and I can get pretty wound up, and I think that balance is good for both of us. To push each other and kind of find that middle road. And I think the other thing is just that I know a lot of you guys have heard me talk about it before, but we're very similar in age. We have a lot of the same interests in life in general, and we communicate. I can't tell you, a day that has gone by over the past, I guess, year and a half for sure, that we haven't spoke in a text or a conversation about something to do with the race cars, or just on occasion if he doesn't have anything going on, which is very rare. It'll just be, hey, how you doing today? And that communication has carried over into the rest of the team, and I think when you look at our race team, everybody was assembled after we put Rodney in place. Everybody was assembled to come to the race team to race with us. And Gene and Tony gave us the ability to go out and buy race cars and trucks and trailers and pit boxes, and everything was just kind of custom built, I guess you could say, to what Rodney wanted to put into the team. But all those guys have the same goal, and they have the same, they knew what they were getting into. It wasn't like people were placed on a team because they didn't have somewhere else in the company or ran out of guys to interview. Everybody wants to be here for the exact same reasons that we're experiencing right now, and we're just fortunate to have the resources and the money and the assets and the people to be in this position. So we don't like to talk about it much, just for the fact that you don't want to jinx yourself, and you just want to continue doing the things that you're doing because it's we're having a lot of fun at it. But I can tell you that the guys will come into the garage this week and they will most likely have forgotten about winning last week and worry about where we're at with practice for this week and what's going on.
We'll go to Lee and then the gentleman back on the riser.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. With your tremendous success, in contrast, the other three teams, and, of course, the 41, they've had their own issues, but they just have not been able to keep up with that, just at any level as of yet. Are you guys out on an island, or, are you transferring any information? I mean, I heard your interviews earlier this week, discussing specifically Tony, but are you guys kind of just doing your own thing to kind of, not get in that mix, and giving your relationship with Kurt and how well you two work together with the Furniture Row RCR Alliance? Will he be able to help now that he's back?
Well, I think there's a lot of answers or a lot of questions to form into one answer. I think when you look at the changes that we made at SHR this year, I think, I thought on paper they would be really good changes, and I think they have been really good changes. I know that the 4 and the 14, all those cars are built side by side and put together by, most of the same people, and I know that all of our notes are, live when we're in the garage, and everybody shares information, but there's different characteristics of driving styles and interpretation of what you think you need and things like that. So I think the 41 car has, they ran well at the end of last year. I think you'll see that car run well immediately this weekend and have a good weekend. I think Danica has, last year I thought she had until the very end of the year had a really good year. I thought she raced well, didn't finish, some of the situations that she was in to capitalize on a top 15, and I think for her situation, I think 10th to 15th are realistic goals, and really trying to build on those finishes and get some top 10s along the way, which she did. At one of the toughest racetracks at the end of the year last year at Atlanta and Kansas, she ran really well. So I think there's we're fortunate to have had a stable group of a stable situation. And I think when you look at obviously the 14 has had a lot of things to work through. They've had a lot of changes on their team this year, and it's just going to take some time to figure out exactly where they want their cars and what they need to do. But I tell people all the time, from when I owned race teams in the past, you can put an all-star group together and buy all the best parts and pieces, and in the end, it's really about the details and the things that happen at the racetrack and evolving that foundation of where you think you need to be in order to move forward and make it better every week. So I don't think that Tony's team has really had time to really get into that situation yet, because like I say, that's a new group of people and kind of starting over and we're 3 weeks in, so they've not had a great start, and I think everybody's aware of that, obviously. But I think as you look at everybody at SHR, everybody is doing everything they can do to try to make that as good as possible.
Go next to the back, and then we'll come back over here to Jerry.
All right, thank you. Ryan O'Hara, Race Chaser Online. First off, congratulations on tying Jeff Gordon's record of consecutive top 2 finishes, and you have an amazing opportunity to break it this weekend at your best track by far. My question for you is, Rodney Childress had a quote from last November saying that when you guys arrived here in the spring last year, you guys didn't really talk about race setups or anything. You guys just got into the car and it was fast off the bat. Do you believe that gives other teams some room to make some headway? Like guys like Martin Truex Jr., who didn't have a really strong season last year, but he's been so strong this year, and he's really hungry for a win.
Yeah, I don't know anything about anybody else's situation, but I can tell you that I approach our team as I'm just a source of information, and that's really how Rodney and I had decided that needed to go in the beginning. I can help control the direction of a lot of things that are happening with whether it be development or things that are wrong with the car, and just push buttons. I mean, that's what I always tried to do as an owner was push buttons and try to trigger conversations to that would hopefully maybe lead down a road of finding something better or solving a problem. And in order to do that, you just have to be in communication with the engineers and the team and everybody involved that is working on these cars on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just a piece of the puzzle that tries to feed as much information and participate in as many things as I can to understand and be involved in what's going on. But this is a science project nowadays with the engineering staff and the crew chief, and that's really it's way out of my league as far as how to make the car even stay up off the ground or what springs you need to put in it. It's way beyond me, so I just try to be involved in it to try to keep pushing forward.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Okay, we're going to go over here next to Jerry.
Hi, Jerry Fraley, Dallas Morning News. Do you mind if I look ahead for a couple weeks for one moment, please?
Sure.
Eddie Gossage asked me to remind you they have in Victory Lane after the Cup races also. I guess that's an inside joke between you guys.
Fine. Now we can go to the next question.
No. It does winning at Texas at some point in your career on your to-do list still?
Yeah, it's definitely on the to-do list, but just in case Eddie knows that there are a lot of other racetracks that we can win at, so maybe there's something wrong with his track. But no, it's just been a place where we've run well. We just haven't been able to put together a weekend. So Eddie gives me a lot of grief because we've had a lot of success in the Truck Series Victory Lane, and I'd see him a lot on Saturdays with the Xfinity car. So he gives me a lot of grief about Sunday. We came close there in the last race last year. So it's definitely something you definitely want to check off the list and feel like we've run well enough there in the past to get to Victory Lane. So I'm sure he'll continue poking fun at me.
He said it with all due respect. Just so you
know. Yeah, I know. He's Eddie and I are we have a good relationship, and he likes to to prod me, so I have to prod back.
Okay, we're going to go to Stan. We're going to go all the way then to the back corner, and we'll finish up here.
Stan Creekmore with CompetitionPlus.com. Kevin, I can remember a seven-time champion in this sport in great belief of you when as you moved up in your career. Do you ever spend time thinking about him when you have such great finishes and how his belief was this is exactly where you would be?
Yeah, I don't know that is 100% true. I think obviously Richard hired me and we had some success the first year and I'd been a part of the the conversations between Richard and Dale that were really just about not racing on Saturday and racing on Sunday because there was a lot more to achieve. There was a lot more financial gain on Sundays, especially at that particular time. So I know Dale would prod at Richard on occasion to make it happen, but that was really only 1 year. There wasn't a lot of interaction with Dale. I think as we went through 2000, we did a lot of the testing for his car, and but other than that, it was those guys were always pretty busy, and we were pretty green and scared to death to walk up there and go into the lounge and talk to him first off. So yeah, but it was definitely an interesting time in the sport that I think you'll see. I think you'll see again in 6 to 10 years, just for the fact that there's going to be a lot of open seats.
Kevin, Bob McMahon, I'm in Arizona Republic. When you're on a roll like this, what kind of role does patience play on your end, either letting the race or the car come to you, or can you even afford to have patience at this kind of level?
I think you just have to, you'd have to try to balance everything and really just approach it like you do every other week, and not get caught up in a lot of the things that are surrounding the events and the attention and all the things that come with everything we've been able to accomplish. So for us, it'll just kind of be the same approach that we take in order to go out and practice the car and try to get the balance right, and try to go as fast as you can. And like I say, there's not going to be anybody on our team that's walking around beating their chest. It's just going to be a normal approach to going out on the track and doing the same things to show up for another race, and try to do the same things again. So it's a pretty simple approach that fortunately I've been able to be around a lot of situations and experienced enough to have been to a lot of these racetracks that you just take that approach and try not to worry about the rest of it.
We'll go to Bob and then Claire, and we'll finish here with the gentleman up front.
Don't screw this up, Bob. I'll ask good questions.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. What type of vibe is there around the organization to have Kurt back and have him eligible for the championship?
I think everybody's just excited that we're able to just kind of put it all behind us, and it's. I don't really know much about it other than it seems like it's on its way to being over, and to have Kurt back in the car is an asset to everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing, and from a performance side and everything that he does inside that race car is a benefit to us. So definitely looking forward to just worrying about racing the cars.
We'll go to Claire, and then we'll finish up front.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Two quick things. First, can you talk about the characteristics of this racetrack? There's so many different characteristics of it. And then I have a follow-up.
Yeah, well, a lot of the same characteristics exist in 3 and 4 that used to exist with the apron and up the racetrack and through the middle of the racetrack, and the options that you have down there. Turn 1 is there's a lot of little things that help get the car turned to the center of the corner, and for me, one of the things I like about this racetrack are just being able to pick out really simple markers. Things to aim for, things to let off at, and that for me is, anytime I can have good reference points, it's easier to repeat what you're doing, and that's really one of the things that we concentrate on, is just trying to get our car to drive as good as possible so that you can be consistent and run the same lap times lap after lap.
And quickly follow up. Back when you were a little bit more...
We got a squirrel on the front stretch.
We have a squirrel on the front stretch.
Is that a squirrel or a cat?
It's a squirrel.
Yeah.
Good eye.
Yeah. See, I do know the difference. See? I do know the difference between a squirrel and a cat. Right now, that safety worker I hope he doesn't have the same result that the guy at Atlanta did. Well, that's a NASCAR official in that truck, right?
Yeah.
I know, anyway. This might end faster if they just let the cars keep going. It's just a squirrel, people. There he goes. There you go. Now timing.
The
and
squirrel's
scoring.
been posted.
Timing and scoring won't work for the next hour, but the squirrel's gone.
We're carrying this live, so that was excellent play-by-play, by the way. Back when you were a little bit more the frustrated Kevin Harvick, because...
I only got frustrated because, things aren't going like they are right now.
Exactly. Back when it was that way, though, you knew you could be a champion. You knew you could have, times like this probably in the back of your mind. Did you know what you needed? Did you know if you could, but did you not know, or did you know what it was that you needed to get here?
Well, I always pushed, and sometimes I think that was interpreted as being a jerk or being in a bad mood, but, it's just not accepting the fact that we weren't running like we wanted to run, and asking questions and pointing things out can be perceived as being a jerk, I guess. And for me, I come to the racetrack to want to be competitive, and that's what drives me, is to be competitive and race up in the front of the pack and try to make your car as good or better than the guys next to you. So, but it's like I've always said in the past, if that's how I was perceived, I think in the past we got the most out of whether it was owning our own teams or driving at RCR. I felt like we got the most out of the people, and there was a lot of them that didn't like me, and I still don't care, because we were winning races and running well, and I think that was just an approach that we took to try to be the best that we could. So, that's just how I am. I like to try to push buttons and try to get the most out of a situation and people, and even when it's good, it can be better. And not just going to sit on my hands and accept anything that you have. You have to constantly keep pushing forward.
Did you know what you needed, though? Did you know what it would take to get here?
I don't think you ever really know, but I know that we had won at everything that we'd ever, that I'd ever raced, and for the most part, won races and championships, and whether it was owner or driver, and this was the Cup stuff was kind of that piece that you wanted to achieve, and so yeah, it was frustrating, and I think everybody around me was frustrated as well. But you can't be scared to be the guy that speaks up and says, this is not right or that's not right. You have to be willing to point things out, and that's usually what pushes a conversation in a direction that makes something better.
Last question up front here.
Dominic Uttago on the RacingExperts.com. So just want to ask you, Kevin, after winning last week in Las Vegas, how much that opens up the playbook for strategy this weekend and for the rest of the regular season?
Yeah, it's not like you're going to do a lot different, but I think you're willing to step out of the box and try some things during practice. But, as far as the race goes, you still want to win as many races as you can to try to keep other people from winning, to gain bonus points in case something happens in the first round. And it's just good for the morale of your team to continue that momentum and try to keep winning. So, for us, it's going to be the same approach, and we'll probably. We were fortunate to win the second race last year and really work through a lot of problems. Hopefully we don't have those durability issues that we had last year that because everything was so new. So hopefully this year we can just work on making the race cars faster and really have a good plan when we head to Chicago for the first race of the Chase.
Thanks, Kevin, for joining us today. Watch out for those squirrels out there when you get hit.